Episode 530 of the TV Dudes, recorded March 13th, 2025. Am I being unreasonable? This week, we check out the first 4 episodes of Hulu's Am I Being Unreasonable, which John Paul Vitale has chosen as his Patreon showrunner pick.
Oh my god, that's right. You can head over to patreon.com/tvdudes and join to get the bonus content, or just like JPV, you can jump to the tier where you pick the show.
That's right. This week, it's an offbeat British rom-com. Rom-com?
I mean, kinda.
Drom-rom?
Drom-rom. I mean, that's not a thing. I do think it should be.
Yeah, well, I mean, all I'm saying is I laughed.
Me too. But before we get to all that, I'm Nick.
And I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes.
And you know Patreon picks aren't all we watched this week.
To the Diaries.
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
Nick, what'd you watch?
Well, I watched the finale of Invincible, which, of course, is just, it's a big fight again. They just did a huge fight. Even one of the characters remarks that, didn't we just do this? I'll tell you what, I'll tell you this though, Les, that Mark is run through buildings and there's just casualties everywhere. He's run through people again the same way in the subway, and it holds no meaning because we've cool, this means something the first time you do this and not
right.
And they don't address it later as far as it doesn't cause Mark further trauma or trigger a reminder of his dad or any. It's just to see people blow up and die.
Right.
Because this show thinks that's interesting. This episode is saved by Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Conquest, the Viltrumite that beats the shit out of him. He is so good in this. He's basically so this is the point in the fight where Anissa or your dad would basically say, hey, don't fight. Well, we're going to turn the earth into utopia. It's pointless to resist. I'm not going to say any of that shit because I want you to resist. So let's get it on, my man. And during the fight, he's like, okay, all right, that's a start. Here we go. And then at a certain point, Mark just goes wait, stop. And do you think I'm going to give you a chance to surrender? I'm having the time of my fucking life. And no, what are you doing? Giving up? No. You can do it. You got a chance. He is trying to up Mark of no, keep this going. I don't get to do this all the time. Honestly, there's so many times they give me mission parameters of who not to kill, what not to destroy. But you pissed somebody off in the Viltrumite Empire. I don't know what you did, but thank God you did it, buddy.
Because I get
to come here and just because the only directive I had was conquer Earth. That was it. I never get that. And so he's having a blast, and then somewhere near the end, he's got Mark down and just starts to whisper in his ear, and he just starts to whisper I'm always lonely. The other Viltrumites, they're afraid of me. They think I'm mentally unstable, so they just send me out to just planets by myself to conquer. And every time I get better and better at it, they just get more and more afraid of me.
Yeah.
And I can never even talk to anyone. It's just me and the people I killed. And Conquest, I don't even get a real name. And, sometimes it makes me so lonely I want to cry, except what I never do, because what's the point? No one, not a single person in the universe would care. And then he looks at Mark on the ground and is like, you can take that to your grave. He never gets the chance to talk he never gets the chance to talk to anybody.
Right.
And so he's talking to Mark right before he kills him. Of course, Eve comes out to get maimed because that's her job in this. And honestly, they have a problem with power leveling because she got taken out early by one of the Marks who were canon weaker than our Mark.
Right. You told me that.
And she has a better fight against Conquest because they finally use her powers, and not as good as the Adam Eve special, but better than what they've been doing. She fucking adjusts the air density around him so that he's swimming through like syrup instead of being able to fly at her. She changes the things around him into water before his punch to diffuse the fucking energy of it. She's actually using her powers in a fucking pretty cool way. And it's a dynamic and great looking fight. Because what I realized about Invincible is that too many people are just Viltrumites. So it's just watching Supermen hit each other.
I still don't fully understand why she can't. Like, if you can change the air molecules around somebody into something.
She can't change living tissue, but that doesn't mean you can't.
But the water in your brain is still the water in your brain.
Right. And then this time she overcomes her limiter and basically
like the oxygen in his lungs should be syrup.
They changed the fight though from the comics to where she does wake up before and like basically gets her limiter taken off of not being able to affect living matter and just shoots a laser at him and basically roasts this guy. He's not down, but like he gets him down to where Invincible can finish it. And so I'm like, okay, I like that Eve is actually proving that she needed to show up for this fight. Mark was going to get killed.
Right.
But also Mark at the end of it basically just tells his little brother, you are right. You know, he's glad that he killed Conquest. And if anyone threatens my family again, I won't hesitate to kill them. And we end on that.
Great.
And so Mark's learned his lesson throughout this season is he's learned to kill again. Wow. Okay.
Great.
But I still hate Cecil. Why?
Right.
How am I significantly morally superior to him now?
No, I'm just glad that I get a reprieve from this show for like in 9 months to a year.
And it could be just that
not from you and watch it, just from it existing in the general zeitgeist.
It could, like, I know I'm exhausting about it, but it could be just that Invincible, anything he does annoys me now. He's to that level of I hate his character so much he can't do anything without it annoying me. They're at Rex's funeral, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Eve goes up to the talk and she can't even finish it. She's choking up. She's crying. She goes off. Mark goes to comfort her. It's one of the only points where like, okay, I feel like this is going somewhere.
Human boyfriend thing to
and
do.
In the middle of her thing, she like, she's talking about like Rex, you know, he cheated on me so many times, but he was still my first or whatever. Are you smiling right now? And Mark's like, I'm sorry. I still can't believe you're alive. And here seeing you like this, it just reminds me of everything that I have. And like, I'm just so happy that you're, you know, here and with me. And I'm like, way to make Rex's funeral about you, dude.
Wow, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know that what they're trying to do in the show is that it's the funeral is reminding him of how close he was to losing Eve.
Mm-hmm.
But this fucking day isn't about you and Eve, for the love of God.
Dude.
It's about your friend Rex. Rex was your friend too. And it's like you don't give a fuck. Like, you barely reacted to the news of him dying, and like you don't, and you're smiling at his funeral.
Yeah,
like it doesn't. I don't know. I'm on one level like it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan is killing it as like this character. He's actually super interesting and fun, and yet it's still on top of an Invincible episode that I feel is just structurally just fucking flawed.
Yeah. Yeah, the core character and premise of the show just sounds awful.
And so since Invincible has never been that good, it's actually not surprising that Harley Quinn was better this week.
Yeah, I caught most of Harley Quinn. It was a cute episode.
I haven't caught up with Harley Quinn in a minute because I keep forgetting to mention it on the TV Diaries. But this episode was actually really good. You joined it for a moment of it. Like they basically, you know, they've fully forgotten that Joker was supposed to be a villain again. And it's really funny. Like
they're fighting Lex's robots that Lena Luthor is controlling, and Joker pulls a toy gun and points it at a robot, fires it. Of course, it doesn't fire a bullet. A flag comes out with bang on it, and then he stabs it through the brain with that. We had to rewind it back. It was genuinely fucking great. Also, his Joker signature is just drawing a clown head.
Yeah. What? No, it's hard to replicate and gets to the point and like.
Yeah.
Well, yours, I don't even see a W in there.
Also, Lois being really impressed. Like, Lois makes a dig and then stops. It's like, no, I didn't like that. How about this instead?
And she punches
it up, and Joker compliments
like good punch up.
and you can see her like Like, no, thank you.
Yeah,
that
thank you.
actually means a lot.
That means a lot from you.
Yeah. He's like this guy knows comedy, right?
Yeah.
I was, this episode had some shit, man. It had some real.
All right, I feel like I've waited long enough to be the voice for someone else to be the voice of reason, but okay, here it goes. How about you fucking call your goddamn super god boyfriend? Oh yeah, weak ass Lois Lane needs to have fucking Superman to come in and save us all.
She starts that conversation with like, I can't call him, he's on sabbatical.
Yeah.
And like we took a break and like, okay, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you yelled loud enough, he would come back from like across space.
But then she reveals.
And then she's like, but I've got this watch he gave me for whenever I'm ready to talk, but I just don't know if Joker reaching across and just boop.
What? I just said I don't know if I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Wait, but why wouldn't you guys want, say, Batman
to come save
you?
And what? Throw a batarang in space? What the fuck's he gonna do,
man, in space? Also, man, Bruce's line that I heard about, that's why I'm glad my parents paid to keep me an only child.
Yeah.
That took me a minute.
It took a minute. I guess it's such a weird way to say his parents had an abortion.
Wow.
Like, whoa. and everyone else like Poison Ivy are like, whoa, wait, whoa, what is that? I do like how this season has been going. Like, I think you said it's right that it's the best it's been since season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I can fully say, we haven't seen the last episode yet, but I'm like, no, I think season 5 is worth going through and watching. I think all the seasons are actually going.
No, I should go back and watch the 2 or 3 before this that were also good.
Yeah, but like it really pays off here near the end. I watched 2 seasons of The Punisher in the background as I did some editing, and some Daredevil and like even a little bit of Defenders to get ready for Born Again.
Mm-hmm.
Just to remember that the Netflix shows had a fucked up pacing problem as far as, it took 2 seasons, like 13 episodes a piece for Punisher at the end of season 2 to finally decide I'm going to shoot gang members in the Punisher skull logo. And I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
and like they're both seasons 1 and 2 of the Punisher start with like, I don't want to be the Punisher anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm trying not to be the Punisher anymore, but I want to. And the first episode of Defender starts with Matt doesn't want to be Daredevil anymore.
Right.
And then they get into the fight. And then this first season of season 3 starts with, no, I shouldn't be Daredevil anymore. And so now Daredevil Born Again, like, well, I don't want to be Daredevil. Oh my fucking God. Who wants to be the title character of their shows?
Like, just hear me out.
Fuck.
Yeah.
The
like when you're interviewing people to put a show together, can the top question on the interview be, so we're making a show about character X. In that show, hypothetically, should character X be there?
I'm gonna
No, if you think we should make a Daredevil show and Daredevil doesn't appear, I think you're wrong for the job.
Well, it's no, I think fucking producers love that. It's cost saving. It's easy mythos. Like if you need a character arc, and the easiest one to do.
We're gonna have AI replace every poet on the planet before we finally get a producer to go, well, I suppose we could spare the money to put him in the suit.
Right. So I'm at this point, I want to split the difference and go, okay, he can not want to be Daredevil all he wants, as long as he's still Daredevil while not wanting to be.
He can whine about it while being Daredevil.
I mean, that's kind of his thing.
Right.
He's always whining about having to be Daredevil anyway, so like it's not out of character, but like
this week, it's not just that he's not Daredevil. In Born Again this week, he outs White Tiger in a way that
that pissed me off.
That like prevents and even before the
you can never wear that suit again.
Even before the ending, yeah, him like I've ruined that, and like Matt's smile, like you,
because of you unbelievable dick.
Like just because you don't want to be Daredevil, this dude was good with being White Tiger.
Yeah, he was fine.
Like, and also, man, somebody's got to pick. So Matt's doing more to keep. Like Matt was technically doing more to keep vigilantes off the street for a minute there than Fisk.
Yeah.
It was like, shit, man, is this in the following, I used to joke in the following that the serial killer who dropped bodies in that show is Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Like we call them criminals. He's got an MO, okay? Like the guy's got a shtick.
What's the difference between him and Dexter again?
Like
that he has a badge?
He's killing like similar profile people in a similar way over and over and over again. I don't know what else to call it.
I guess it's different because he has a badge and gets paid for it.
Sure.
Like
but in the same way, like I keep watching this going, man, is this one of those like what if Deadpool killed the Marvel like what if Daredevil killed the MCU? Like, is he just working his way up from street? Like, he's going to take care of that Spider Kid soon.
Oh, I mean, well, they can't mention him. Like, that's the thing is that, that, like, why in this argument of vigilantes running around in New York, like,
just lip service.
J. Jonah Jameson isn't screaming about Spider-Man.
Right.
We never hear anything.
Or White Tiger. Also, what does that amulet do, man? Because they just shot him in the side of the fucking head.
Oh, man, I didn't know how much we wanted to spoil, but yeah.
I don't care.
I don't give a shit. But... Well, the suit looks pretty good, and of course, because of the narrative, like I was actually shocked. I'm like, dude, are we done with the trial already?
Right. No, we took care of that.
I thought this was going to be long. I'm like, oh no, we're going to do a trial. Like this is going to be episodic.
I was genuinely nervous for the verdict on the 3 count. Like when it's murder 1, murder 2, and then
I thought at least like manslaughter.
I was really afraid for the manslaughter one. And then Matt goes, "Thus sometimes the system works." I'm like. No, man, I feel like a room full of cops showed that the system doesn't work and you got lucky.
Well, I like that their witness, like they did a whole switcheroo only for him to
looked around that
cold.
room and was like, I won't make it out this fucking building.
Nah, man.
Like, it is. Honestly, I was amazed White Tiger made it out of the building and he didn't make it out of the day.
Right. Well, only because the cops knew that if they shot him in broad daylight there, they aren't going to get away with it.
Right.
And also, like, vigilantes or whatever, like, they're super hard to kill until they're not. Like for the story.
Right.
Like if that was Bullseye killing him or like, the actual Punisher. Cause like, yeah, okay. He has a skull, but you already showed me that the cops have
fucking neck tattoos. And
shit. Like I don't. So if it turns out to be another vigil, like I would still think it would happen a little too easily. Cause I'm like, so the White Tiger, like, I guess even if it doesn't make him bulletproof, it doesn't give him super senses or like, because I feel like if it was that easy to kill him, he wouldn't be vigilanteing around at this point.
Somebody would have shot him by now.
Yeah. If that was an option, more criminals would just take it.
Right. But also you pointed out that like his costume is both silly and crazy and looks cool.
Yeah. It's the most MCU thing.
It's so MCU, and of course we have to shoot him in the head.
And so, and basically, the Daredevil show took it out back and shot it in the fucking.
No, somebody on this show had the temerity to put on a more than a brown or a blue suit.
Like, and I was checking myself. Oh, thank God! I thought we were about to have fun for a minute. Right. Thank God we.
I'm pretty annoyed at the Daredevil show with no Daredevil. I gotta say, I'm fucking annoyed.
Well, there's not even any White Tiger anymore, and so we're gonna get Punisher coming around to basically be the only vigilante that's doing anything. Right. And Daredevil's just gonna be telling him to not do anything the whole fucking time. Right. And at this point, I'm like, dude, I don't even agree with Punisher, but I need someone to do something on this show. So yeah, have him come in and just wipe shit.
Because this episode was on it. Like I watch a lot of Paramount procedurals, and like honestly, this episode felt like not boring, like decent enough, but just a meh week of a court show.
It's in like I said, like
it happens to like they're getting a trick like no, it's not just a court show. It's about Daredevil and White Tiger, and like, but is it? I mean,
the macro of this show works. Like the idea of Daredevil defending or Matt defending White Tiger and like defending vigilantes and defending himself. Right. And basically, like, learning, like, maybe what I did as Daredevil was worth something.
And I like that, like, there's no amount of cops Daredevil can technically punch that'll fix police corruption. Yeah. You might actually be able to do something about that as Matt Murdock more. Mm-hmm. But you're just kind of failing on the Matt Murdock front, it feels like, and also refusing to do the Daredevil side. It feels like I felt like somewhere over the 3 seasons on Netflix, hadn't we already learned the lesson that it takes a little bit of Daredevil and a little bit of Matt?
That's the first season ends with him. They put away Wilson Fisk in the trial first season, and Matt Murdock puts him away, and then he escapes custody. And Daredevil, the whole first season is about him learning to take both.
Right.
And we have to unlearn that lesson every fucking time.
Yeah. Like, that's where I was getting annoyed. I was like, why don't I want to make it through this episode? I'm like, oh yeah,
it's
because Matt doesn't either.
But between that and Kingpin, who's trying to not be Kingpin, like it's like, okay, am I going to watch any characters on the show that are trying to be the person they obviously want to be?
Right.
Or
and the characters that want to do it are just getting constantly like stymied and patted on the head by the show. Like Vanessa wants to be Kingpin.
Yeah. And like, we're going after loftier goals than that. Like, oh man, she can do that on the side.
Right. I can't, man, honestly, I watched this week's episode and I kept thinking, like, watching this is why I didn't think Penguin could work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is because Penguin should be like this.
Yeah.
Like, this is how Penguin should feel.
Like,
it's a Batman-less Batman world where I'm mostly watching the criminal side. And yet Penguin's fucking fascinating, like, and I'm bored shitless this week on Daredevil.
Well, they've taken away, Vincent D'Onofrio is doing a good job, but they've taken away what kind of made him interesting as far as his damage.
And if we're going to move through this court case this quick, you got to move through the damage, because it on paper, Kingpin's fatal flaw now being that he's healed is kind of hilarious.
That's kind of cool. I kind of like that.
And like that, but I'm not seeing that. It doesn't seem to be torturing him.
Well, he's just approaching being mayor like he would being a mobster. And like, I'm like, okay, I guess that's different, but we're not going into, honestly, there's the therapy being couples therapy is avoiding of like, I kind of want to know what his mindset is why he thinks this is different or why this will be better.
It kind of gets into we were just talking about Sopranos for other reasons, but the thing of like, no, you've got to go one direction or either is he healed and not a monster anymore? Are we doing that? Or is he still a Kingpin I need to be afraid of? And are we doing that? And like push it one direction or another. Like show me that healing him actually made him more dangerous because he's less emotionally volatile. Or something, like show me, like they have an opportunity here to do that, of like what if Tony Soprano had gotten to be a much more effective monster?
Right.
And like what if Echo's thing backfired?
But
we're not really doing that.
It's hard to tell what we were really doing because like this, it feels disjointed because of those reshoots of like, this is a type of show that was reshot and tried to make into something else. And if you're not going to reshoot all of it, like
it's just weird.
I get that you want to use what you got because you want to save money, right? And you already basically shot an entire season of this, but the scenes, like it's obvious, like the two things that are trying to fight against each other here. I don't know. I miss Foggy.
Yeah.
Like not even any Karen in this episode.
No, I miss Karen.
Honestly, it's hard to like, man, what did we spend a whole lot of time on when like
court?
Like they got this court case and White Tiger. I guess his daughter will probably have to be the new White Tiger.
Okay.
Or something. I think that's happens in the comics too. Although if it's that easy to kill someone with that medallion, maybe she shouldn't be.
God, put it on, kid.
And then we watched not together, but we watched Reacher, the new episode.
Man, I'm sure that the Neely show is going to be in that office. Like whatever her setup there in Chicago is, I'm sure they just showed us the week-to-week set for Neely. But I genuinely liked her showdown with the two dudes in her office that come to kill her. But then
her just call me an ambulance.
Like her just sitting down and like move. No, I need the milk out of the fridge. Move.
Yeah, don't make me make you move.
And then like him like,
okay,
please call me 911. And then God, she takes that call she calls Reacher, and him over at the fridge, like you hear from off screen, is that 911?
Shut up.
Shut up.
I'm on the phone.
Man, that was cold blooded and different than Reacher's cold, where I was like, okay, this scene makes me like her. You do more like this, you might rise above middle of the road procedural, which is what I think Neely's going to end up being. But
all right, if you're going to keep bitching about it here, you're like, all right, they'll be here in 5.
You're going to be dead in 1.
So it would have mattered if I had, done it the first time you asked, but
I also like, so what were you guys going to do to me when you found me? And he like looks away and she's like, yeah. But the rest of the episode, like, at the start, it is still a huge hand wave to keep that girl alive that they're chasing. But I did kind of like the Oh no, I'd have shot her immediately. Except I'm actually in a little bit.
I'm in a little bit of a bind because of all the
delays and crap.
Yeah,
and so I need to sweeten the deal. And dude's got a kink.
yeah, I like
and that actually kind of tracked of like, because also I like that. No, shooting a man in the head and throwing him off a fucking waterfall when he says he has amnesia about the couple years prior to that event. He's not joking.
No, you're not kidding.
He does not, because he looks Reacher dead in the face. I love they don't put it together till they figure out that like
he's
who's looking him up. Yeah, but yeah, him pinning that schmuck Harley to the fucking deck of his boat. I loved Reacher, like they set that boat on, or the boat catches fire. But then every room Reacher walks out of for the rest of that scene, if he sees anything around him that's flammable, he just throws it behind him.
Yeah.
And like,
man, don't look at me. She scares me too.
Yeah, man, we need to get off this boat before it gets to the fuel tank. Cool. Talk faster.
You got to talk fast, buddy.
I pinned you to the deck, man.
And I like, at first I thought, like, Reacher's like, man, they're going after people that I've investigated. I guess I thought that meant he was going to go because of the scene prior. Like, they were going to go after the kid. And like, same. And like, and they do though. And like, they say like, okay, send a guy and then send 3 people. And like, but we don't cut back to the kid.
No. So
either way.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I was like, oh, you made it seem like that was an important thing. Do we not care what happens to that kid? I kind of cared.
I kind of cared. I really wanted us to see, and I wonder if that'll be next episode because we're starting to get into the finale. Because yeah, I want to see if they got there in time, or if they found that kid gutted, taint to throat, or whatever the fuck he said. Like when the 2 guys in the room were like, "I've got a silencer.
We got silencers. We can just fucking kill him."
Where's fun in that? Like, oh my god,
I do like him. Like, I'm retired Doja Jack Reacher, and like again, like,
she
shit,
up straighter.
I
laughed about that.
Fucking legendary.
Like he can't even see you, and she's just on the phone. And
yes,
like,
sir.
Yeah.
Also, the detective, what's her name?
Duffy.
Duffy, like, basically, he's talking about like, you didn't kill him. You're like, well, no reason to like take it out on your CI because there's like, you saw the dress. I'm like, okay, if she was still alive, I'm killing Quinn eventually. So there's just a basic human level of like decency, not anything crazy going out of the way. And she just makes out with him right there.
She jumps forward and kisses him and then just all but slaps him.
And then all but goes like, whoa, what the fuck? That cannot happen again. Okay, I don't know why you're yelling at me.
Like, Reacher's on the street like, I don't
know what you wanted me to do about that.
She's like, well, that's never happened. You kissed me and I will never again. Okay.
It won't be repeated. Oh, why are you yelling?
All right. Yeah, also, right into that same scene when he sees the other cop come around the corner.
God damn it! I told you I need to talk to you.
Not him. And that kid comes around, and I love his immediate. Holy fuck! Is that the cop you murdered in front of me?
Yeah.
That Russian roulette. I don't care if your kid doesn't catch the bullet in that or not. When that chamber clicked, your kid changed.
Yeah.
Like I was watching that scene in the kitchen and thinking, Anthony Michael Hall's got to know that, like, Deer Hunter style, whether the bullet goes off or not, your kid does not come out of this the same.
Well, it sounded like they played that before.
Right.
Or a version of it.
Version.
Because he said, like, when the bullet will be real, they'll actually be in there this time.
Right. And we know that they do, Russian roulette, or McCabe likes it as a fucking thing. Yeah, I think if Reacher's not my favorite show in the world. Like, I some of this is scheduled timing. Like, I know if they did this at a part of the year where there were 3 other shows that I've been looking forward to, I'm not certain Reacher would like
would win out
week to week. But it's always fun.
We also Going Dutch we watched. There was basically all his ex-wives.
Yeah,
that was really fun.
Cuddy from House is one of his ex-wives.
Very Irish one, and then the German chick.
And then, then, of course, they all love Catherine Tate.
So that was always fun. Danny Pudi and his daughter seemed to be going a little somewhere, but I think who steals the show was Papadopoulos and that girl.
That they're in like a competition for the like new civilian on the base that they have to interact with. Yeah, and I love his response of like, when she's like, no, there's no way that you outgame me. Like, I'm definitely gonna like win out on this. And he's like, no. You've always been hot and charming.
Yeah.
I
I've had to work
I had
for
to
it.
work for this.
So
So
like you were at a disadvantage, my friend. So
yeah,
not above a little Instagram
no,
stalking. It's 125. Everyone does it.
their B plot just absolutely walks away with the episode. Let's see. I watched, of course, some Parks and Rec. I kept up on The Pit, which that I don't usually watch medical shows, but goddamn, man, seriously, Max is killing it on that. Watched a couple of movies. We watched Royal Tenenbaums, Gene Hackman, of course.
Sure.
Which I realized I love Royal Tenenbaums. I like Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Like all Wes Anderson movies are cute. Royal Tenenbaums is actual like fantastic. Like I just love it. Everything else he does is good, but give or take. Like realizing that like, oh no, I don't like, Tim Burton as a whole. I like this one, like Beetlejuice, or I don't like the Coen brothers. I like Raising Arizona. I actually do like almost every Coen brothers, but either way, I kind of realized that watching Royal Tenenbaums that damn, this film I think is fucking flawless, and overall I don't feel that way about him on average. Also watched a movie I had only seen once before, Death Becomes Her.
That's right.
With
Bruce Willis and
Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep. Robert Zemeckis. It is fucking insane. I forgot how slickly done it is a train collision of plot, like of genre plots. So on the one hand, it is an Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode. Like Bruce Willis is a plastic surgeon who is dating Goldie Hawn at the start, and Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep have been college friends, only Streep has become a famous actress. And at the start of the movie, she just cold steals Goldie Hawn's girl or man, and Han like talks, is like on the date of like, no, this is a test. I need you to meet her because this has happened so many times in college. And I need to know before we get married. And then they just slam cut to his marriage to Streep.
Damn.
So then like it keeps doing these like 7-year time jumps. So like 7 years go by and Han is like a wreck and gets institutionalized. She's just insane. It's incredibly she's in a fat suit. Like it's very body image. Like they're very vain. But she shows up having gotten like back her model looks or whatever, and like Han shows up hot like another 7-year time jump later with a plan to murder Willis and Streep. And it's a very Alfred Hitchcock thing. All of this is happening while I think it's Isabella Rossellini is a witch woman that has a eternal youth potion that she's dealing in Hollywood. And so this Alfred Hitchcock murder plot coincides to a couple of people who don't realize that the other person is only still hot, not because of plastic surgery, but because they are an immortal undead person. And so like in the middle of the movie, like when the murders start to pop off, you slowly realize that almost no one here can fucking die. It's insane. I won't say it is it is still not you can see why it buys it. I had written this movie off like nothing but trouble of like, well, I remember that as a historical misfire. It is not quite that, but it is also fucking weird. It reminds me of The Frighteners, of like, you put two tones together pretty well that none of the audiences wanted. At least not in 1992 or whenever that came out. Of course, watch 1923, has a couple of new episodes out. Man, that is one of the better Sheridan shows. Also on a Hackman tip, watch The Firm with Tom Cruise from way back in the day. Gene Triplehorn, Hackman. That's a fun one. I think it's better than Runaway Jury. Of course, a bit of Harley Quinn, bit of Reacher, bit of Watson, bit of Tracker. Then Lisa and I found this series from the BBC that's called the BBC Historic Farm Series.
That's right.
And they've done some of that. A ton of these. Most of them are on Amazon Prime. The one we watch most of is Victorian Farm, and then there's one called Tudor Monastery Farm. And they take like 3 people who I don't know if they're anthropologists or archaeologists or just historian nerds or what. It's incredibly well researched and sourced, and they go live like it's 1550 and they're a tenant farmer around a monastery, or live like it's 1600 and so like their clothing change. They don't spend a lot of time each episode comparing how you do it modern. I don't care, and that'll keep changing. So
Sure.
they just show up and like, well, this is the technology that we have to shear a sheep in this year. There's one that they don't have on Amazon that I gotta find called Victorian Pharmacy, where they had to bring on an extra person with a different PhD because most of the shit they make is crazy dangerous.
Right.
But all of it is fascinating. Like, half the time they have to rebuild the house on somebody's property because it's England, the shit's everywhere. But I started noticing that, like, when they're rebuilding houses on the property before they can start shooting the show, and they go out there and just live for like a year, they're building structures on this guy's property that have to match in order for it to remain a historical whatever. The building they're building can't be new. So like, well, every structure the man's ever torn down on this building, or anyone in his family's ever torn down on this property for 600 years, they've saved every nail from.
Okay.
And so they start laying out what are blacksmithed nails.
Yeah.
From 50, and he was like, every one of these nails is from the period we're talking about on this show. We're going to plane wood the way you would in 1500 and put this building together. It's fucking nuts. It is also,
that seems unsafe.
Oh, it's crazy. There's a bunch of times where like, so you're just standing in a pit helping a dude like saw a piece of, there's no eyewear, like that would break there's a lot of times where I'm like,
eyewear, Jesus.
There's a lot of times where I'm like, yeah, man, fuck historical accuracy.
No.
I'm gonna look at the audience and like, so they wouldn't have these back then, but I'm definitely putting goggles on right now because what the fuck?
I'm not losing an eye for this show.
Also, you got to use what's around. Like almost every one of their and there's an old home remedy for this. It's going to involve one of like 6 things you can see within your line of sight right now. You know?
Yeah.
Like, so every solution to every fucking problem involves soft cheese, horsehair, urine, or lime chalk. Hand to God, every fucking thing they do, like there's, like rub some dirt on it, walk it off. Like, well, here's a little bit of soft cheese and lime dust and urine and some horsehair. Will patch you right up. It's the duct tape of 1600s England. I swear, it's insane.
Well, like the passed down home remedies are not home remedies because they necessarily work. It's because what they have available at the time.
The amount of times that they're like, so this technically worked. I mean, like this, they are doing the exact chemical right thing you need to do for this. The reason they're doing it is an insane superstition.
Yeah.
But they're getting to the right solution.
Yeah, so it's working. They don't know why,
but they will like anyone in 1550 or 60 whatever would have confidently told you why. Like, well, it's because blah 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 blah. No,
I'm putting the spirits out of this. Or
they make beer. They making bread and beer and yeast. They have to gather yeast in the style of the 1500s, which is just sitting.
I think you just grab
sitting a wooden bowl out in a field because the yeast technically is a bacteria that blows off the plants they were like, no one in this century knew what the fuck yeast was or how any of this worked. That is put a bowl of water out in the field with some flour in and just hope that the fairies touched it.
Yeah, it did. So that's experimentation of like, what if we put out, like someone left out a bucket.
How do you figure out that bubbling shit should make bread? How did we get it's nuts, man.
It's like they invented wine because someone let grapes in a barrel too long.
Right. All of this stuff is like, I feel bad for, like, God love every historical family that suffered to discover these things, because I don't know how we found them. It's fucking nuts. All of those shows are amazing. I would highly recommend. But that's about it for me.
I mean, I bet you, like, if they get a splinter or whatever, they're using modern day fucking first aid kits.
You'd be surprised. I was really amazed.
So like, without a pretty protective wear, I'd be like, dude, you're gonna get.
Her lips are chapped, and she makes. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot beef tallow. Yeah, rendered fat is the other ingredient in every time. She makes a like a chapstick lip balm out of pork tallow, some kind of red plant, and something else, and she's way too excited about it, and it's all she uses. Same with like dry skin. It's insane. They have to repair their wagon wheels. It's fucked up. I'm hooked. They're the most boring, captivating things I've ever watched. I love them. That'll do it for me.
Time travelers should be the most boring people in the world, I think. Anyone who has a vested interest in going into the past, like that wants to be in the past,
Right.
that would be boring people.
Like, sew yourself up into your cod piece and shit.
All right. Well, before we get into whether or not we are unreasonable or or who is unreasonable, let's go to the just mention that we still have the patreon.com/tvdudes, and where you can throw in $1 an episode and get a bonus content each week. That bonus content depends on the tier. At the $1 level, you just get access to
bunch of bonus episodes.
$3, I think we'll read a written review. $20, and you get to be a show runner just like this week. But what is the bonus episode for this week for the $1 patrons? That is another bite off of the Oliver platter, and with a side of Tooch this week, because we're going to be talking about the Stanley Tucci directed farce, The Imposters.
That's right.
Which was an interesting movie for me, for sure.
Yeah, that's an absolutely insane cast. I think Tucci also wrote and co-starred.
That's right.
Absolutely swimming in Tooch.
Oh God! Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Fine. All right, let's talk about John Paul Vitale's showrunner pick. Am I Being Unreasonable? Over on Hulu.
You're being unreasonable right now. You Tucci motherfucking.
Mom's swimming in Tooch.
She is vile.
Mum, school. Gotta go to school.
2 minutes. Just let me watch the
Daddy, you know what?
That's so unfair. The one thing that I'm lacking in my life is like real connection.
Possibly because I'm insecure and I've got no mate. So it's Jen, isn't it? You're Nick. Yeah. Do you want some gin?
Oh, yes, I could kiss you.
Don't do that. Just make it weird. You're great. I try.
That's my best friend. She don't love that. Drive her own car. She don't need no lift in a strip club. No, my girl gon' fit.
Am I Being Unreasonable? It's a British comedy thriller. Is that what it is?
Sure.
Television series written by and starring Daisy May Cooper and Selin Hisley. The series was broadcast on BBC One in the United Kingdom, then premiered in the US on Hulu months later. Cooper plays Nick, a mom stuck in a depressing marriage, grieving a loss that she can't really share with anyone. It's not a bad way to put it. Hisley plays Jen, who arrives in Nick's life as a kindred spirit and school mom, but both are concealing secrets. That is an understatement. The show's title is taken from a MomNet kind of message board that Cooper had read. Cooper told a newspaper, if you post anything on the Am I Being Unreasonable thread about whether or not you should end your marriage, they all just scream, leave the bastard, even if all he's done is sing over your favorite show's theme tune.
So I like that the answer for the Amy is always no. Like,
right.
No, you're never being unreasonable.
Fuck
like
that guy, leave him.
You're in the right.
Right. The show, this stuns me for reasons we'll get into in a moment. The show is partly improvised.
Really? Actually is stunning.
All right, so I'm just going to throw this out here. Only Brits are allowed to improvise from now on.
Normally, I can immediately tell when a show is allowed to improvise.
I would have stack of Bibles sworn that this was carefully written.
Now I'm thinking about some of those scenes, like, okay, maybe that's why the maid just believes in ghosts. Like, when it doesn't seem to have anything to do with what's going on. But, like, okay, that's something a fucking one of the actresses put out there and fucking stuck. Like, Lucy trying to, like, the Lucy character trying to, like, decide, like, oh, I put in a magic 8-ball and a fucking thing to simulate boobs.
She gets so weird. Like, Patty Harrison, she gets Patty Harrison level weird.
Yeah.
Real quick. But all right, so at the start of this show, I was real worried because, man, I really didn't like Nick. And also the lady on the show wasn't too bad. No, like she's a train wreck of kind of an unpleasant character at the start, and kind of per the show's premise, like based on what you're seeing, she feels in the wrong on a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that when she's gathering up cat flyers, we were both like, that seems too nice and kind of out of character for her.
Right, which is bare minimum stuff.
Right. And then she meets Jen, and we talked about, you brought up Love Hurts, of like a movie that might have had a cute script. Who can tell? You put two people who just have nothing together.
Yeah.
In the same room, and it's ridiculous. And Jen and Nick meet, and they are immediate. Y'all have to be friends. Like,
yeah,
it is a wonderful little series of friend building stuff. And you really like, well, you start to think, well, maybe they're both just a little fucking awkward and weird, and like, but they found each other. Okay, great. And the show, to me, this is the genius of the show. Across the 4 episodes, it keeps upping the ante on that. You keep thinking a character is like, hate that person, fuck them. And then you slowly find out some context and are like, okay, they overreacted, but I didn't really know what had happened earlier in their day. You know, or they're like those kinds of things.
Even the main character, Nick, her main sin or whatever is that she used to have an affair with her husband's brother,
right?
Alex. And
man, when we first saw that, you and I were like, you suck.
Yeah.
What the fuck, lady?
Yeah, like, well, at first it was like, okay, she's having an affair. A lot of people do that. Like, it's like, you know, I don't know the context of this.
Right. And y'all's relationship looks terrible.
And then I learned that, like, that was Dan's brother. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But then you see later that it all started at their wedding and not from, like, on her. Like, Alex at that point just fucking lays it out for her on the wedding day. And it immediately made me go,
I'd say at worst, it's a 60-40 split. On the Alex side, I think it might be more.
It made me go like, no, you're taking advantage of her emotional instability right now, and like a weak moment as far as her wedding day.
Right.
Like
this is cold.
She's already having a hard time bouncing stuff off here, and you are like the gay hairstylist that shows up is basically like Jesus. Basically like, oh, so was that the groom? Nope.
That was an amazing like. Oh, okay. Well, the guy you had chemistry with that just left the room.
Yeah.
That's awkward then. Yeah. There's so many fun little moments in this movie. Like her and Jen have insanely great chemistry. Her and Lucy, the mom she doesn't like, have like a weird thing that's awkward and fun. Ollie, her kid who has some little person medical thing going on, is really cool. Like his opening scenes, I liked him better than her for the whole first episode.
Sure.
As he's like, no, mom, seriously, I'm late. Mom, for school, mom. And then the person I probably liked least is Dan. And at this point now, I also just kind of feel bad for Dan for kind of being stuck here.
Well, he is like
he's definitely being unethical, and he is stepping out on Nick.
Like, and that sucks.
Nick was stepping out on him.
But also, you realize that like, well, like Nick was never in this, and I can't imagine that's changed over.
I can't imagine that from your wedding day on that you didn't kind of know that something's off here.
They're together for Ollie, basically.
Right. And you like everybody. It's weird what they know and don't know about her. They know she and Alex were friends, and they hung out, and they were hanging out that night.
Yeah.
And that she saw him
die. Yeah.
But they don't know that that he had just basically said, I love you, and that they had an on again, off again thing. And so everybody knows it had like she could grieve it to a degree, but she couldn't. To me, that's a really interesting thing. It's not that you had to hide it entirely. It's that you had to hide the degree of hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it does not.
You had to respond like it's your husband's brother, not like it's your love of your life.
I like Alex's wife coming around and basically being, or girlfriend. I'm not sure if they were married, but you know, his partner at the time, basically coming around and being like, she may not know that they were having an affair, but like, man, he was always weird around you, and I fucking like, she hates her.
And the difference in her demeanor when we flash back to the wedding day before anything started, and she's like, I think he's pulling away from him, like, oh my god, you like her and talk to her.
Yeah, like they're friends before this happens,
right? But like, and I also love that Alex's widow ex, whatever, doesn't know, but she seems to know. Like knows enough to be like outright like, nope, get away from me, I don't like you.
Even if there was no physical, I think there's a sense of like, man, he was having an emotional affair with you at least.
So I
I kind of fucking hate
to pretend like I like you.
I hate that like the person I'm mourning that died was kind of sort of in love with someone else.
Right. And I'm pretty sure it's you. Fuck you. Yeah. Yeah. The end of the first episode, I was like, no, that was cute. I've laughed. That was fun. End of the second episode, I really liked the show. By the end of the fourth, it was more like, no, we need to go record. Don't start the fifth one.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is like Average Joe. I'm definitely going to plow through the rest of this.
Well, the reason Jen and her have such good chemistry is the fact that you find out later, and which is weird because we see Jen record her sometimes, and Jen acts really weird.
Like, how suspicious of Jen am I supposed to be in the first few
and
episodes?
And then, like, it turns out that the place she was out of isn't where she lives, and the person there thinks her name is Katya. And when we see her, from her perspective, like, oh no, it's a racist old daughtery woman that's confused
it sounds so nefarious, and it's nothing.
Yeah, and she works there as the maid. It doesn't know where she
never
lives.
said she lived there.
Maybe she did.
Or at least in the flashback, I was like, nicely done. Like, she just walked out of
I think
there.
I think she asked what she uses for the garden, and she said just manure.
I think. Yeah.
But I can't remember if she was intimating that was hers or not, or if she was just answering manure. I think. Like, what do you use for these?
Right.
And I think that might have just legitimately been a misunderstanding.
I think so. There's a moment in the movie Spanish Prisoner, which is a con movie, where somebody's like, no, I saw him get out of a plane. Like, did you? Or did you see him come from the direction of people coming off a plane?
Yeah. Well, no, who would be coming off that person? Like, that would be insane for someone to come out of the airport that wasn't just on a plane.
Those,
it would, wouldn't it?
Did you see her come out of the front door of that house, or did you just see her step out from the corner of that? Like,
right. And then, of course, even Dan's moments get recontextualized as far as, like, it was always immediately like, does he want to fuck Jen, or like, does he immediately suspicious of her? And then later,
the Jen episode, I think 3, where we get some context on her day, that was hilarious because like it puts all of his reactions through 4. Yeah. Because like all of God, him walking into the room when they're playing sticky names or whatever.
Well, he drops that kid.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. We were just thinking, God, he just wants to fuck it. Like, nope, he's scared shitless.
No, because he's on the Tinder date on Tinder sites, and she finds out, sets one up, and records him or whatever. Like, and basically, says that he's.
She's obsessive and weird, and
well, she's obsessive and weird in a way that we see. Previously, she was friends with someone named Becca, and Becca seems to want, like, I don't want to be on shift with her, blah blah blah, and like we assume that like she's too intense, and we see her immediately form a bond with Nick, calls her Elton John before like knows her name, and like cyber stalks her, and we realize that the reason she had Jin at that place and was perfect for Nick is that she's Joe from You.
Right.
Like, she's fucking doing her research.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a stalker.
Which is still kind of weird. I still think that's a little like, I don't think fully healthy people quite do that. But
I think a lot of people are lonely, and we all have access to
too much information.
And
she does come across as lonely, and she's just trying to be nice to Nick in her own weird way. Like, it's weird
Nick
how
also acknowledges that she doesn't have like a lot of friends, and like,
but the what's insane about it is the telling her the code, basically just because Lucy was just a dick about it. And like,
she's brilliant. She's the best.
Even from Jen's perspective, when we see it, like, dude, that, like, she's barely acknowledging you.
Right.
And and it's like, oh my God, that person's amazing. Okay. I think your bar is super low here.
Right.
And like, should I call her now? It's at 3:00 in the morning. I shouldn't. Come on. I was like,
right.
But also we see later, she dips out for somebody and like, stay right there. I'll come get you or whatever. Just stay right there. I have to leave. And it's in the middle of this conversation where you think
crazy.
It's a crazy thing to do. And then you see it from Jen's perspective. It's about an argument she can't understand because she's asking who's Katya. And she doesn't like, okay, I guess I'm having a weird conversation with my new friend, but my old friend needs me right now.
Right.
So I guess I just got to dip this. I don't know what she's talking about.
And like, please watch Harry. And like runs out the door. And we don't know what's up. And again, this show is kind of magic in this regard. Every time that I think like, nope, I was right, she is unstable and dangerous, or what? Nope, there's a reasonable explanation for her level of panic.
No, she was friends with Becca to a point of it maybe even being more than friends, and like because her like she
But that scared pullback of like, no, I can't do this. I know you know exactly the trope story that unfolded there of like,
yeah
you and Becca were tight, and then Becca got scared and pulled back, and that makes Jen dangerous.
mm-hmm.
Like no, that means that I have to now vilify Jen, maybe get a restraining order against her. She can't ever come near me. Because I've had to tell my husband that crazy bitch.
Right, I have to change the narrative here.
Yeah, and just that half open door.
Yeah,
and like
never showing the side of her face.
Yeah, it was really.
And I thought it was very well handled, and I'm very interested to see the
next. Yeah,
the rest of it. I think
also because she picks up. We stuck around for the credits in that when they do the
water can. No, I don't know anything about a water can.
I always love that trick of running violent audio over an
over credits
with no music.
Yeah, and I don't know who they're going to change my mind about going forward. Like, are we going to get a change on Lucy, who seems to be kind of a pill? Her basically like asking like, oh, I know Alex's anniversary is coming up, and I'm like, oh, okay. Honestly, I'm surprised she remembers that, considering she seems to like, I thought she didn't like you, but maybe she does like want to be friends with you. I don't know. She seems weird. And then, but her next ask after that was, well, would you mind coming to I'm trying to stand up. Would you mind coming up to my stand up comedy thing? And like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
My physical comedy, so I'll just leave with this.
That was a good elevator, though. I thought it was good. And then later, like, do you want me to really tell me what you think about? Like, I want to get new boobs, or what do you think? Like, I want to get tits on. I think dudes like boobs, and like, oh, you really want me to think? I think they look they hang too low.
They're way too low.
Like too low. Also, you need to be in love with yourself for a minute. I think.
Oh, so you're saying just stick with comedy?
So you're saying stop the physical changes for now, put a pin in that, and then just focus on the comedy.
Only.
Are those my only two options? Oh, and I don't know what they're gonna drop going forward. Because there's the moment with her kid about the cat. And I'm like, okay, are they gonna stick with this reasonable explanation that they had as regards to the cat being, found, is missing, and then like found dead, and like, oh shit, did the kid do it? And he gives a story about it finding in the laundry, which sort of checks out, but but also, are they going to drop anything further of like,
right? I still want to know who accidentally closed it. Like, I would have investigated that further, but yeah, again, like everything on the show, like when she opens that drawer, there's an immediate, okay, Dexter, what the fuck?
I would believe it if like, Mom, you accidentally closed the door and killed the cat, and I didn't, because we already seen him be protective of her and basically be the adult.
Right. And honestly, that
would track for me.
That would track if that like, no, I know you did this on accident.
And maybe seeing things from Dan's perspective might be interesting.
That's got to be coming,
I would think. And because I've already gone back and forth on Dan. Mostly, I don't like Dan. I think he's kind of a drip.
Right.
Like,
but I like the premise of a show where, on the one hand, every character seems it's Rashomon. Every character seems in the wrong from every other character's perspective. Like, but it's the am I being
unreasonable?
So what is each of these characters' posts on that site?
And
because like, what is Dan's "Am I the asshole" post?
I like the answer to this of the question of am I being unreasonable?
That's the British version of "Am I the asshole," isn't it?
Yeah. Am I being unreasonable? And like, am I being the asshole here? And the answer is different depending on just who's asking it.
Right.
If you're asking the question, no matter what. And then even if the other person in the scenario still asks that question, it's also no. Like, technically, it's like Schrodinger's asshole. Like, everyone and no one's being an asshole here.
Right.
Everyone and no one's being unreasonable. And because I also like Dan, I think he's actually pretty good with Ollie.
No, he is. He seems to be.
Actually, really like him and the kid together. Like, I like the kid. Hopefully we don't reveal like he's a fucking psycho, because like, honestly, I kind of like him.
I really like Ollie, and I don't want him to be a psycho. I really like that
he
actor.
Makes cute little movies.
Right. I really like that actor. I like that. I like the kid. Yeah.
Honestly, in his relationship with the mom is even kind of good, because like every time he gives a little lie or something, he's like, no, genuinely, that's impressive.
Oh man, when they fart ghost haunt the
don't laugh.
And the mom's trying to just stand there and like, can you imagine how terrifying it was? Yeah, I'm sure it was. It's the worst thing that's ever happened in my life.
It's like, I cannot hire a new maid here. I need to not laugh at this.
Okay. All right. Well, that's gone. Hey, Ollie. Yeah. I think this was a great choice. Great work, John Paul.
Like just genuinely fascinating.
Yeah, this is a great show.
The word is weird, but comedy thriller is what it is.
No, because it keeps setting you up to think that something bad is. I mean, well, God, a guy got fucking plastered by that train.
Well, also there's a little single white female in there, and also we didn't even touch on Nick is having hallucinations.
Right.
Like
Who the fuck are those kids?
Who are those two kids?
Two teens.
Like the
two Utes.
Those two. Did you say Utes?
What's a Ute?
What? Say Utes. And like what's going on with that? It's like there's a psychological breakdown element to this. I don't think there's a supernatural element.
I don't think there is. I think she's just breaking down. I don't think there's a supernatural element.
Because like also I can sort of believe either two ways. They go with, breaking it off with Jen because Jen's a little much or whatever, but also like they're playing it just the right amount with Jen where I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I couldn't blame them going either way.
Right. I think you both might have found your other flavor of the same crazy.
Yeah, Maya Hawke and what's her name in
Do Revenge or
Do
whatever.
Revenge.
Yeah.
Like, no, I think we're fucked up soulmates.
Exactly. I want to rewatch that now. Yeah, I'm digging this. I'm looking forward to watching more. This is really good.
Yeah.
You can catch it over on Hulu. I think there's a second season out now.
Is there?
Yeah. And I don't know if it either just started or is almost done. JP, tell us which. And that's probably going to wrap it up for us this week. Tune in next week. Patreon supporter Danny Doggett's going to jump into the fray with his showrunner pick, Records of Ragnarok.
2 Patreon showrunners in a row?
Yep. Even Danny says that Records of Ragnarok's pretty bad.
Watch this be one of the ones that that Les likes.
Will his reverse psychology ploy work on the dudes? Probably. We will find out next week. But until then,
you being unreasonable. I mean, if you don't make any more, am I being unreasonable? Then yes, it's unreasonable how
good this show is.
Like this.
Tell you what's unreasonable here.
TV Dudes out.
We know nothing about her, Nick. She's got a weird energy. Seriously, get rid of her.
That's not Jen.
I went to your house earlier. You don't even live there.
Who are you?